Telstra had a really...
So
Oi. Telstra had a really bad time last week. Yeah. I always read it as Telestra. How the fuck did you manage that?
Australian telecom provider Telstra might be facing...
I hate you. Stop it.
Fines up to $30 million because they have a time server that's ancient.
Yeah, so there's big lawsuits that are happening because with this outage they had, emergency services were not available. So you couldn't call 000, or I guess in America your 911. You couldn't call an ambulance, and during this outage, let me just double check. How many people died during the Telstra outage? I want to say it's at least 3. 1? Okay, maybe it's some other people were injured. Okay, 1 person confirmed dead. I thought there was more. Maybe they lowered the estimate. That sounds scary? Yeah.
Now, I am no stranger to time servers. I have been setting up many in the past couple years. I've been getting deep into the time hobby. And
what the fuck is the time? Something I love about the internet is you find these just like weird niches that you didn't even know existed. What the fuck do you mean the time hobby?
These are an assortment of a few of my clocks. I have more in the back there. I have more in the other racks in here. And recently I picked up this server up here. This is for a project that I'm working on for later this year for a vintage clock restoration. This is a GPS clock, one of the earliest models that you
Wait, this is not like just a joke. He actually is like a time nerd. What the fuck?
Widespread in like places like telecom carriers like Telstra. This is a little bit older than the one they had. They had it like a Symmetricom S300 or S350, something like that. Theirs was from 2006. This one is from 1998 or 1999. It's a true time server. But these are actually a lot more similar than you might think. Inside of here, there's a GPS receiver that gets time from GPS satellites. It translates that time into something that you can use over a serial.
Oh, Xilinx. Haven't heard that name in a little bit. It's in the AMD chip there as well. There was some patches on the kernel that just I got remembered of.
Bus on a computer.
Reminded
and later models of this, like the one that they had, also sent out NTP timing signals and other things over BNC connections. I'll bring this down so you can see what I'm talking about.
What's on the back
here?
So
see, this one has a GPS antenna input and it has iRig connection. So this might have been used in a broadcast application, I'm not sure, but there's a serial output here to computers. These are very old, and these all suffer from a problem called the GPS rollover bug that's caused by when you pass like 1,024 weeks, I think it is.
Right.
The GPS clock rolls over to basically what it was before. So this unit here is only good up to like 2010 or 2008. I don't remember what year this one was good to, but the firmware on it was never updated to go beyond that. So that's the problem here. And the one that they had in 2006 worked for 20 years, I think.
Wait. Okay, so it had like an unpatched bug?
Which would have been this year, 2016. And so...
2016, yes. That's the year we're in right now. I fucking wish we were. No, it's you mean 2026.
What happened was they only had 2 time servers, from what I can read.
Hey, they technically had redundancy. It's just they both failed at the same time. Fucking morons.
They only had 2 time servers set up. And you need more than 2 for any kind of redundancy, because if one disagrees, then what are your computers going to do?
Right.
They're going to pick one of the 2, and if that one is wrong, that's not good. So I think what happened was they rebooted.
As a reminder, Telstra is what's a good equivalent of Telstra? I wouldn't even say Comcast. I would say Telstra is kind of like Comcast. What are the other big ones in the US? I'm blanking on their names. For some reason, Comcast is the only one I'm thinking of. Takeaway here is Australia isn't real. True. But basically, Telstra is the equivalent of, like, all of these companies merged together. Telstra is basically it is the company that does telecom. There are other small, like Vodafone exists, and yes, they have their own stuff, but like Telstra is basically the company. The NBN is a partnership between Telstra and the government. Like, I think they should have like 50%. It's like shared 50-50 ownership over our entire network infrastructure.
One of their time servers, and because it rebooted, it went back to the earlier, like 2006 era GPS. Even though it knows the GPS signal is giving out a certain week, it thought that that was 2006. So all of their computers and all their systems were like, oh, it's 2006. The problem is that there's tons of software nowadays that requires good timing to know, like, this certificate is valid, or I can connect to this other thing because the time is right. We are so dependent on a good time nowadays that you can't have critical infrastructure rely on old clocks and old timing gear that is unsupported. The problem is that timing equipment is very precise, but like, I have a Raspberry Pi here that I have software on that is running the latest version of Linux that has all the patches and things that knows how to get the right time today. But those older things had firmware that was much simpler and much smaller, that couldn't account for things like the GPS week rollover bug and things like that. So, you know, I have down here a more modern version of these time servers. These are not insanely expensive or anything.
Meinberg MicroSync. Meinberg MicroSync. How much is it? Oh, is this going to be a situation where you can't find the price unless you contact them? Meinberg MicroSync price. They do not publish retail prices. Yeah. You got to get a quote for it. There's one on eBay listed, though, for $3,000. And for a company the size of Telstra, that's not that much. That's not even like a tax write-off. You don't even remember it.
I don't know exactly the price of this one, but I'm thinking in terms of like $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 for a very, very solid time server that you could swap in for one of these older time servers. And to think that not upgrading to something newer like this, which would cost a few $1,000s,
you can't afford
maybe,
it, yeah.
let's say $10,000 or $20,000 for the full integrated upgrade, and then that costing the company up to $30 million, and all the trust that's lost in the community after people can't.
Here's the thing: it doesn't matter if you lose trust in a government monopoly. It's a government monopoly. What the fuck? What the fuck are you gonna? What are you gonna go to? You've got no options.
Call on their cell phones, which we're so reliant on nowadays. But yeah, a bunch of you have been emailing me about this, and I would go deeper into this. I actually wanted to do a full video breaking down exactly what went wrong and everything.
Telstra is a private company. Private company. It's just basically all of their money is tied into government contracts. Private company.
Everything, I just don't have the time for it this week because this week is open source. Open source is starting on Friday, I think. Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
I'd love to go open source at some point.
I'm going to be going there, and I have, as always, I have like 2 weeks of work left to do before then. And there's only a few days, only like 2 days left, really, because I got to travel on Thursday. Anyway, I will see some of you at Open Sauce, and the rest of you, I hope you have a good time, a much better time than Telstra. And we will talk about timing quite a bit more, especially GPS, which is the next video in the series that I'm working on, which I've been working on now for 2 years, and I only have one video that I have officially in that time series, so we'll get there at some point. I'm just doing far too much research down the rabbit hole before I get there.
That's fun. That was a fun one. So basically, it's Telstra being like, yeah, our gear's fine, don't worry about it. And then it breaks, and it's like, fuck. We don't have any redundancy. Fuck. I mean, there's so many rabbit holes, like Doomsday Computer in case the world goes to war and you survive. Like, how long was it down? Let's find out. How long was Telstra down? 6 to 10 hours. but it began at the start of the day and finished around... So it started at 4 a.m., finished around 4 p.m. So basically, during an entire business day.